In this session, we will get into how you can create your own AI writing bot. And I'm joined by John Tighe for this session. He's a 9-time best-selling author, a book marketing expert, a speaker, and business coach. And John has spoken on stages about AI both at Oxford and Cambridge universities, which is pretty impressive. I've
Mhm.
known John for quite some time, but it's exciting to see him diving into the world of AI as well, more in the author world. So I'm gonna be interested to see here how he's thinking and teaching about how to create an AI writing bot to, have it in more in your own voice, because that's really important. Like, so you don't go to ChatGPT and enter in a prompt. You're not gonna get it the way you want, essentially. So I think that's what we're gonna get into quite a bit in this session. But I'm gonna actually bring John up here so we can talk more about this. Well, welcome, John.
Hey, Navid, thank you for having me on here. I think it's about 10 years since we
Yeah, you have been
first got
around
in
for a
touch.
while
It was
too.
over the it's kind
I
of
mean, you have
virtual
been
summits, isn't
more
it?
writing a lot of books. You have been teaching a lot of authors. I mean, I think it's
Mm.
quite exciting. We can finally do something. I don't know if I think we did something maybe back in the day. We did some session. You did a summit, I believe, a long time
Yeah,
ago, and
yeah,
I
we did.
brought you on for a session to my students for virtual
Yeah.
summit mastery. And now, full circle, we are back here for
Mhm.
this AI creator workshop. So John, what are we gonna get into if people stick around for this session? And you can tell them a little bit about yourself as well. But what
Yeah.
is the promise for this session? I
Well,
teased a little
let's
bit
get
about
straight
the
to
AI
what
writing
this is
bot, right?
about. Yeah. Um, so one of the key things that I teach, do with clients, teach students, is how to create an AI writing bot that is going to help you to write, edit, brainstorm, and do it in your authentic voice, as opposed to the generic kind of AI slot that you get if you don't program it. And when I say program, I mean train. Really, you don't need any coding skills or anything like that. The language is just English or Spanish or whatever your language is. So there are three key elements to that, and we'll just go through those, and I'll explain how it works, why it's important, and yeah, and if there's anything that you want to sort of interrupt me on and ask questions, do that, and we can riff as we go through.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. I mean, everyone wants to write in their own voice. And I mean, I've been teaching a lot about creating your own brand profile, your voice profile, essentially. So I think this is kind of a little bit similar. Like you're going to train it basically. So you can write books, you can write blog posts, you can write social media content and all of that. So yeah, why don't we dive
Exactly.
in? I'm sure you'll share a little bit more how you got into all of this as well. Like, but yeah, you can dive into the session and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and yeah, to that point, I've been. I mean, I started writing my first book back in 1998, a long time ago,
Wow,
long
that's
before I
crazy.
started teaching people how to write and publish, and certainly a long, long time before AI was a thing, at least a kind of public thing. And so there's a few elephants in the room when it comes to AI. So let me just address one or two of those first. I mean, as a writer, as an author, it almost pains me to say this, but the reality is, if you use AI in the right way, you will be a better writer. Whether it's your blog post, email marketing, whether it's a book to position you and generate leads for your business, it doesn't matter. Uh, Using AI the right way makes you a better writer. You cannot write your best book without it. That really upsets. I'm going to be polite because I don't know how PG this is. That really, a lot of authors don't like that, but it's the truth. It is absolutely the truth. That was one of my epiphany moments when I realized that. The flip side is, if you use it the wrong way, your writing becomes terrible. It becomes generic. And I think the term is AI slop. You get human slop as well, and you get AI slop, which is this sort of awful churned out stuff, which is formulaic, has all these AI tails. We don't want that. That's one of the reasons why we have this. We want to create a bot, whether it's a custom GPT or a gem or a skill or a project, as the case may be, depending on which model you're using. And what I'm going to sort of talk about today and what I'm going to teach is kind of, I'll talk about it in the context mainly of ChatGPT, but it's sort of platform agnostic. If you're training your chosen AI model, it's the same elements that go into training it, whether using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or something else. So
Yeah.
just a little bit of
I mean, that's awesome,
context for
actually.
people
I
there.
mean, that's exactly it. Like authors, I mean, I had a session in one of my summits a few years ago with AI. I had a similar thing. Like, can you really write your book with AI? I think I agree with you. If you don't use AI, it probably is going to be worse than if you
Mm,
didn't use it. But at the same time, there's a right or wrong way to use AI, because if you just tell AI to come up with the book, I mean, is it really you? Not
yeah,
really. So it has to be your knowledge. And I think you agree in that sense that it should come from you, especially when you are teaching something. It should actually be your knowledge, but then AI can help with that. So I think that's
yeah.
maybe what
So
we're
I
gonna get
think
into
if
as well.
AI, and this is another really important kind of mindset thing, you could create this bot and essentially use it as a ghostwriter. I'm not advocating for that. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend that you kind of create the first draft yourself and use the bot as an assistant that is trained, like I say, in your authentic voice, in your style, and your preferences. Use it to riff off, use it to get feedback, use it to do real time editing, get suggestions. Um, it can draft things for you. If you're really stuck on a point, it can make suggestions. But then it's better if you kind of are the author and the AI is the assistant, not the other way around. That
Yeah.
also is important if you are wanting to publish a book and put it onto Amazon or any of the other platforms where if it is what they call AI, they make a distinction between AI assisted content versus AI generated. AI assisted is okay. Like the genie's out of the bottle. They know people are going to be using AI. So if you've drafted the the book and then use AI to improve it, polish it, or maybe you used AI to brainstorm ideas and help you fine tune the structure and before you actually wrote it, that's all okay. What's not okay, what it puts you in that AI generated box is if you give AI prompt to say, write me a chapter on XYZ. Uh, it doesn't matter how much you go back in and then polish it up and improve it and make it your own, as they like to say on all the like kind of talent shows. It's still considered AI generated, and Amazon doesn't like that. And we don't know precisely how they do or may in the future penalize AI generated content, but it's something you want to kind of stay away from. Um,
Yeah.
so again,
This
you
is
can
very
use it in
interesting,
either
actually.
way,
Yeah, it's
but
interesting
I would,
because I think it's like you want AI to amplify yourself. You don't want it to take
mm,
over. But I think, for example, if you might not consider yourself a writer who writes every day, whatever, maybe you can do voice notes or audio or
mm,
record a video and then transcribe that and then turn that into a book. There's many ways to do it.
yeah,
And then it's gonna be more in your voice anyway when you have what we're gonna get into with this AI writing bot, right? So you can
yeah,
have like
yeah.
your transcript, and then it's gonna have all your thoughts, like maybe
Mm.
thousands of words, right? And then you can actually get it to sound really good.
Yeah, and another little sort of nuance is, it depends what you're using the AI for. If you're using it to write a book, then what I've just said, ideally iterate the first draft yourself. I speak it, I just dictate it. That's the by far the quickest way. And once you've got used to doing that, it's way, way faster than having to type it. Does it matter so much if you're, say, drafting a quick email? Maybe not so much because you're not worried about Amazon's rules. You can take that email. I always make quite a few changes to an email if I get the AI to draft it because it's never going to be perfect. But it gives you a really good starting point. You don't have that blank page. So again, there's context. Make a judgment call. Sometimes it's okay to get the AI to create that first draft. Sometimes it's better not to. And you can use this for both. And also, like I mentioned, brainstorming. So when you're kind of there's an in you want an interplay between you and the AI. It's great for having to build up ideas, and the more you use it, the more it gets to know you, and the more it can make good suggestions that are specific to your project or your audience. Uh, you know, so it gets better with time as it starts to learn more about you.
Awesome. But why don't we
Okay.
get into the presentation,
Yeah.
and you can share screen as well to kind of demonstrate
Yeah.
how people
So
can set this up.
are we screen sharing now?
Yes, absolutely. I got this
Okay,
up
so you
here.
can see that top slide. Cool. Okay, so yeah, how to create your own AI writing bot, and let me right. So I'll just go through the slides. I'll talk it through, but if you want to interrupt me, no, just
Sure.
just do so. So the number one complaint people have when it comes to, sorry, and I'm looking across because I got two screens, using AI to write is it doesn't sound like them. You get this generic stuff that I talked about. So this is, I'm going to show you how to train AI to write in your authentic voice. And like I said, there are three key components to this. And what I'll do on this slide, I'll give you the high level overview of each of the three, and then we'll go into a bit more detail about what you need to create. So the first thing is you want a style guide. This is a comprehensive analysis, and we get the AI to do this for us. And you said you feed in a sample to the AI of the writing and the style you want, and it will build this style guide. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Then you want to have context layers. So we need to tell the AI kind of who it's doing this as, i.e. you as the author, who it's doing it for, who's your readership. So these are things like your bio backstory as is relevant to that writing, your ideal client or your target reader avatar, depending on who you're writing to, and what the objectives you have for that book are. And then the third element are additional instructions. This is a sort of catch-all bucket for anything that's not covered by the first two. And don't worry about trying to get all of these things right straight out of the gate. You probably won't. There'll be something, I guarantee there'll be something you'll think of in a week's time. Oh, I should have put that in. You can just go in at any time. It's a few seconds work to update those instructions. So no big deal. And also, you want to get it done quickly. Get that first version done and start using it, because when you get the feedback or you get the output, if there's anything that's really wrong, you'll be able to see that, and that will sort of guide you as to what you might need to tweak to improve it. So don't get hung up on it being perfect first time. That's not the idea. The idea is to build a prototype very quickly and then improve it and iterate it over time. Now, I've put in bold on the bottom of this slide as a little reminder. You want to create separate writing bots for different types of projects. So if you write fiction and nonfiction, for example, they would be different. If you have a blog and you write in a particular style for that blog, and that's going to be different from say a book project, you want to have one for each. Maybe you're doing one for email marketing and you have a particular voice for that. So if you have more than one voice, create more than one bot. And once you see how to do it, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward to get them set up. So it's not a ton of time to build out a second or a third if that's what you need. But if you try and sort of, I've seen people try and shoehorn these into for convenience into one thing and say, well, write me this style or write me that style. You don't want to do that, because it's just a recipe for confusing the AI. And, even now, AI is way more powerful than it was, say, 2 or 3 years ago. But it still has, context windows and things which we need to consider. So we don't want to overwhelm it. You're much better off creating specific writing bots for each specific writing task if there's more than one. Okay, so let's talk about creating the style guide. This is a really key part of it. Most people don't even go as far as this first step. So if you do this on its own, that'll put you ahead of 90% of people who are using AI to write. As I said, we want it to be a sample that's in the style you want for that particular book or blog or whatever. Question I get asked a lot is, how long should that sample be? And the sweet spot right now is about 3,000 words. That is enough for the AI to see patterns in your writing and to be able to pull out the sort of key elements of that without giving it so much that it starts to become overwhelming. So that's a good window. Anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000, but 3,000 is the sweet spot. I'll caveat that with, it might be different in a month or 6 months' time. So you can always ask, what's the sweet spot, as and when you're watching this and building yours out. Because as that context window, as that memory of the AI gets bigger, it might benefit from more. But anyway, 3,000 words is your ideal sample. So where can we get that from? Well, if you have an existing book, perfect. You could take a sample from that. And maybe you have a podcast. So you could take a transcript from the podcast. Maybe you have a blog and you could take, 2 or 3 sample blog posts to get you up to that 3, whatever it gets you to that sort of 2,000 to 4,000 word target. Maybe videos, maybe you have a YouTube channel or you've got some interviews and you could take the transcripts of those. Or maybe you don't have any of these and you want to start with a newly written page. Or if you're doing a newsletter, write a couple of newsletters and then use those as content to create that sample, that style guide, excuse me. And remember, all of the things I'm teaching you today, you can change these at any time. So if you decide in a 3 months from now that you've improved your writing, you've got a better sample, just get a new style guide based on that and swap it in. So none of this is set in stone. If you use, say, a podcast transcript or video transcript, you're going to have the problem of it's a transcript of spoken word and it doesn't sound like written prose at all. So that's what this slide is about. And I'm going to share a prompt. I'm going to offer like a download link to these prompts at the end. So just a PDF where people can get these. But this is what we have to start with if we use a transcript. It's rough, spoken. There'll be filler words. There'll be repetitions. There'll be run-on sentences. You'll have moments where you start to say one thing and then you change your mind and start saying something else. And so it sort of goes off at a tangent. And it really is going to read like that. We can't use this as a sample to train the AI for obvious reasons. What we want is something that approximates to written prose. So it's clean, it's structured, but we want to maintain your authentic voice, your sort of syntax, your phraseology, all of those things. And so we use a prompt that is really quite simple, but something like this. I'll read it out for people. The text that follows is a spoken first draft. Please edit it so that it reads like written prose, focusing on improving grammar, structure, and overall flow while retaining the original meaning, intent, and voice. And that's it. And then you just paste your transcript underneath and it will edit that in a matter of a few seconds. And well, that little bit at the bottom pertains to doing it for a whole book. So it's not weeks of editing time if you're just doing a 3,000 word sample, for example, but it'll save you a ton of time in editing. And then take that edited version, obviously read through it, double check it, make sure you're happy with it. You might need to do a few little tweaks, but you'll have something which is, pretty much there in terms of it's now in your voice, but it reads as if you'd actually written it, not spoken it. And you can use that as that sample for the style guide. Okay, so what is next? So what do we want to do with this? Well, the next step is to paste or upload it into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever other model you're using. And actually it says upload, but you're better off pasting it in. Again, current best practice. Paste it in and ask for a detailed description of your writing style. And again, I'll give you the prompt for that. It's on the PDF. You are an assistant designed to write and edit in my voice. Analyze the following text sample. Identify key characteristics such as tone, vocabulary, sentence structure, use of metaphors, similes, pacing, and overall voice. Provide a detailed style guide for future writing projects. And within seconds, you're going to have a comprehensive style guide that could be used for the writing and the editing of the book or whatever project it is. And before I go on to the context layers, which is the sort of second part, I just want to sort of pause and say that just doing this, even if you didn't build the writing bot, this is actually a really, really useful exercise as a writer. Or even if you're just using it as a marketer and you don't think of yourself as a writer, because you're getting really good critique, feedback on what you do to write. And you'll get a list, it might be 15, 20, 25 different things, a little sort of subheading and a line or two describing what it is. You'll get a document that is your style guide. And you can read through that, and there'll be a bunch of stuff in there. You read it and think, yeah, that's me. I'm such a great writer. And then there might be one or two things in there which you read and you think, crap, I didn't know I did that. And I'm not sure about that. Well, the cool thing here is that now that you know, if there's something that you're not happy about, basically, one, you can just stop doing that thing. So you become a better writer, even if you don't use the AI. But two, you're the director. That's one of the mindset sort of shifts you need to make when using AI. It's great, but it can only work at its best with you directing it. So if there's something that you don't like at all, take it out. If there's something, excuse me, that you're not happy with, tweak it, adjust it, change it, do whatever you need to do to make that writing style one that you're completely happy with. And there might be one or two things that in there that you decide are missing. So you might want to add one or two things in. or augment one or two of the points that it makes. So spend a little bit of time going through it and thinking through it. So you're not just accepting the first pass that the AI gives you. You're actually, again, it becomes that collaborative thing where it's, and I hate this word because it's such a cliche, but there's that synergy between you and the AI. And this is like a pro tip. If you really want to get the most out of it, have it create the style guide. So use the prompt that's on the screen right now. That will create the initial style guide, and then put in something like, to the effect of, great, now critique the style guide you've written and tell me, is there anything else that is missing or could be improved? And then have it do a second pass, and it will give you, maybe there might be one or two things that it didn't include first time around, and it might give you a little bit more nuance, a little bit more detail. And then say you go through and as the human editor and make the tweaks and adjustments that you want, so that you've got a document which is now a collaborative one between you and the AI. And that becomes the style guide. So we've got this document, we're going to park that to one side. I talked about context layers, so let's talk about those. These are the second sort of element, and there are three of these. And the first one is your bio backstory. And this is the bio that is relevant to that particular writing project. It's not your life story. It doesn't need your CV or your resume. It's just what is relevant to you as the writer. What's your expertise? What's the journey you took? How did you learn the hard way what you're teaching other people to do? What's your motivation? Maybe your qualifications. Because if we think about what we're trying to do here, we're asking the AI to brainstorm, to write, to edit as if it was us. So it needs to know a little bit about who we are. So that's what this part is. So giving that some context. Second context layer is your avatar. It needs to know who it's writing to, who the audience is. This might be your ideal client if you're writing a business book, or if you're writing blog posts. Maybe if you're writing something else, it might be just your perfect reader avatar. But either way, who are they? Outline their needs, challenges, aspirations. What are they hoping to get from this? If you're not sure about this, have a separate conversation with the AI and give it what you have, and have it ask you questions and come up with suggestions. Because AI is really good at stuff like this. It has so much data that it can pull from. It can help you build out that avatar if you're not sure. And then the third thing we need is to set out what the objectives are for the book. And there are two aspects to this. What are the objectives you have for the book, and what are the objectives that your reader has and that you have for your reader? What's the benefit? What's the transformation? What do they want to get out? And I would focus mostly on those. We look after the reader, give them a good experience. We'll probably meet our own objectives as well. But what do you want them to take away? What's the transformation? What do you want them to absolutely be clear about? Maybe there's an action step that you want them to take. So what are those things? So now we've got that style guide, step one. Most people don't even do that. So we've got this comprehensive style guide, which we've critiqued and we've edited and polished. We've got these three context layers. Now, not only does AI have this really good guide as to how it wants to write, what your writing style is, but it knows all about who you are, who it's writing to, and what it's trying to achieve with that piece of writing. So we've got those. We'll part the context layers, and we'll go on to the additional instructions. And bear with me. These, like I said earlier, these are specific instructions that aren't already covered by 1 and 2, the style guide and the context layers. And I'm going to give you some examples on here, but the important thing, if you're creating your own writing bot, is it's going to be different for all of us. It's going to be different for each of us as a creator, or as a coach, or as a trainer, or as an author. It's also going to be different from one project to the next. So you might create slightly different guidelines for each one. So this is just a kind of to get you thinking. There's a couple of these which are fairly generally applicable, and a couple which just. So the first one is words, phrases, punctuation to avoid, for example, cliches, certain AI tells. It is getting better, but it still likes to use em dashes. It loves to throw in Oxford commas, which are almost never necessary and most writers would never use. There are certain sentence constructions which it will use. that just like scream AI. So we want to avoid these. This is essentially a bit like, you've probably seen, I think we've all seen AI humanizers, either as softwares or as GPTs that you can download. This is a bit like just you build in the humanizer into your writing bot, because we don't need to use the humanizer that everybody else is using because they're starting with something that's very, very generic. We've already got past that. We're way past that with the style guide and the context layers. So the output that we're getting is exponentially better already, but we're going to take some of the things that would be in a separate humanizer and just build them in here. So that's applicable to everybody. And again, like I said before, it does, if it's coming up with something in the output that you don't like, add it in here as a list of a banned word or a not to do. There might be cultural nuances. Now, these could be real or fictional. If you're writing fiction, it might be you created a fantasy world, or you're writing historical fiction and the culture of that time is different today. So training the AI on that is obviously important. But it might be real in the sense that maybe you're writing to people in a particular industry, and every industry has its own culture. So you might want to talk about that. Again, the AI has a lot of information, but you can be specific and give it some guidance. Otherwise, it's having to just best guess it. So give it some specifics so that the writing that you're creating, the output you're creating, is going to speak to that audience. That audience feels like you get who they are and understand them. You know the industry. So cultural nuances in whether real or fictional. Tone adjustments. So again, particularly if you're writing a business or blog post, you might want to avoid salesy language, hyperbole. AI, again, that generic AI content, where it's pulling from the interwebs, and there's a lot of stuff on the interwebs that are selling to people. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but you might want to specify certain tone adjustments. Maybe you want it to be conversational. Maybe you want it to be funny. Maybe you want it to be deadly serious and professional, because that's the type of audience you've got. Again, these are the sort of things which are going to be very individual to us and our particular audience. So that's why I'm using these as just guidelines, not hard and fast. Another one, which is something we all probably want to spend a little bit of time thinking about, is what is the best reading grade level / complexity of vocabulary for your audience. Typically, we want to sort of go, perhaps bring it down just slightly. We don't want to dumb it down, but stuff tends to get read more and understood better if it's a little simpler. The caveat there might be, depending on the audience, you might have an audience where, again, if you're speaking to a particular profession, they're not going to like that. They want it to be, graduate or postgraduate level. So again, very audience specific. But those are some things to think about. And say anything else that you're not getting, if you're not getting it from the output, think about what you need to add into these instructions just to fine tune it. And again, if it's using a particular sentence structure or doing something that you don't like, have a separate chat with it and say, look, I'm getting this output. How would you describe that? And how would you train an AI not to do that? And then you can take that, it'll tell you, and you can take that and paste it into the instructions. So again, if you're stuck on any of this, ask the AI to help you create the instructions. You don't have to do this on your own. Okay, so that's part 3. How do we put these all together? Well, we start with a what I call a purpose and instructions prompt. Very, very simple. Again, it's on the PDF. You are a writing assistant designed to write and edit and then insert a description of what it is you're writing in my authentic voice. Always use the style guide below when writing and editing. In addition, incorporate the context layers and follow the additional instructions. So really simple, not rocket science there. You're just saying, like, this is what you're doing. Use these sets of instructions, because what we're actually doing here is we're basically putting together a big, long, quite complex prompt, which we're going to put into the AI. So let's put it all together. And personally, I don't assemble mine inside the AI. I always use Google Docs. So I'd recommend Google or Word or Pages, whatever your preference is. It's just, one, it's easier to assemble them and then copy and paste them across. And Secondly, it helps with version control as well. So you're probably going to want to come back and tweak this, change it, improve it. So I'll make those changes in the Google Doc and then paste the new version across. But I can keep the old version there as well. So sometimes hopefully most of the time you make changes to the instructions, it will improve things. Sometimes it may not. You may feel like you've kind of broken it a little bit. So if you've got the old version, you can always go back to that, and that gives you that flexibility. So Google Docs is my preference. And then we're going to use, let me go back. That's the purpose and instructions prompt. That goes right at the top there. Underneath that, we're going to paste our style guide. So it really is as simple as put a heading saying style guide and then paste it underneath. Then we're going to put our 3 context layers in. So put a heading for each one. So bio, backstory, paste that in. Reader avatar, paste that in. And then what was the other one? Objectives for the book, paste those in. And then finally, additional instructions, put a heading for that, and then paste those underneath. So what we've got here is effectively a big, long prompt with all of these different elements included in it in the right order for the AI to kind of parse out and know exactly how it's writing in terms of the style, who it's writing as, i.e. you, who it's writing to, what its objectives are, and all the other do's and don'ts that it's allowed to do or not allowed to do based on your personal preferences for that specific audience. So we've got this all in our Google Doc. How do we use it? How do we deploy it? Well, you could simply copy and paste this into a new ChatGPT window or into Claude, etc., and it'll follow those instructions. But this is obviously a hassle. We don't want to really have to be copy and paste every single time we want to use this. And yes, the output, you can do that, and the output will be in your authentic voice. You'll need to tweak it, obviously. It's never going to be 100% perfect. But the best solution is to take those same set of instructions and then use them to create either your own custom GPT or Claude project or Claude skill or gem in Gemini. And I'll touch on these just in case there's anybody who's not familiar with these. Basically, the way that I think of these is it's like an app, but inside your AI. So you can create your own app to do a specific thing. In this case, we're creating a little app that will help us to write and edit in our authentic voice. The elements, the style guide, context layers, etc., that you're going to use are essentially platform agnostic. It doesn't matter whether you want to use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Manus or GenSpark or something else, whatever the latest thing is. The AI still needs the same core information to be able to write in your voice. So what I've just shown everybody here, it doesn't matter what you use. And so you might want to create one of all of these. And because sometimes you'll get a better output from ChatGPT, sometimes you'll get a better output from Claude. And if you've got something that's really important, it can be quite nice to be able to have them both do the same thing and then compare the output and then pick and choose. Sometimes it's clear cut and one's definitely better, but sometimes you end up mixing them up.
What have you found, John? I mean, I'm using a lot Claude I'm using Claude quite a lot, but I also find if you really train a GPT well, it can do a good job, especially with like social media stuff. I mean, it's not the best for long form writing, I find, with ChatGPT, because it tends to go back to kind of bad AI slop patterns sometimes, but you can definitely train it. And I think Gemini, I haven't done too much writing, but I like the gems there. You can actually do quite advanced gems, actually even more advanced than with ChatGPT, because they have it integrated with some of their advanced features with Opal, I think it's called. I mean, it's their whole platform there, so you can do some pretty cool stuff. They basically build small tools, and then they have obviously Google AI Studio, so that's a whole different thing. So, but for the writing, I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah. I think that Google suite of Gemini, and of course you've got Notebook LM, which is also part of Google, and Google AI Studio. That's coming on quite rapidly. So, I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on both OpenAI and Claude.
It's just the output is better when you get it from Claude, I find. I find like both ChatGPT, I mean, you can ask it to do in Canvas in ChatGPT as well. I think that's very nice. And I think that's a hack. If you're a writer, definitely ask it to put things in a canvas, so it's way easier to format. You can go into edits, you can it's easier back and forth, and same. But Claude they have kind of these artifacts, and they do it kind of usually automatically if it's a longer form content, which is
Mm,
nice. Then it goes back to edit it. The negative with Claude is that you run out of I mean, you run out of time basically, so you have to kind of pause unless you're on a max plan or something. But I guess most people
mm,
watching this, you will have maybe the $20 a month plan if you're gonna get into writing. I do like Claude a lot, but I use it in
mm,
Notion a lot. I mean, Notion has some bugs with Claude. I mean, it's still like integrated into Notion, so it's not the same as using it natively. But I think it's worth, as you said, to compare different outputs, because I put
mm.
my style guide and my voice profile and everything inside of Notion, because Notion is my entire workspace for my business.
Right.
So it knows me. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's nice. But wherever you have all your documents and stuff, I think that's great. And maybe have something in Google Docs, as you said, because then, if you work with a team or something, they can access this easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I work with a lot of writers. A lot of writers prefer Claude to ChatGPT or OpenAI. Um, Gemini is sort of coming on strong, and people are starting to say good things about that. I've had times when I've run it through historically Claude and ChatGPT, and sometimes Claude's been the clear winner, but not always. Sometimes ChatGPT is. I've tended to use ChatGPT more because it knows me better, but Claude's getting to know me better as well now. So again, whichever people choose to use, the more it gets to know you and your preferences, the better a job it can do. So, and the other thing I would say is that they're all getting so good now that it's not like you're going to get a bad result with one of them, especially if you've created the writing bot.
Yeah.
You built it out into a custom GPT or a Claude project or skill or a gem, because it has that to go back to every time. So if you have a strong preference for one, stick with that. If you don't, I would play around with all three and then see if that evolves into a preference over time. But
I mean,
whichever
you
one
can
you
start.
choose,
I mean, if you have already a tool, I mean, if you're watching this, if you have ChatGPT, start there. You don't need to necessarily go out there and pay for another tool, especially if you're
mm,
starting out or something. You just go with ChatGPT for now. Learn how to create your AI writing bot, and then if you say, okay, I want to experiment a little bit to try the different tools as well. I mean, I think it's still worth it, because then you learn different AI tools and you can see kind of what their strength. I think they are good at different things essentially. I mean,
yeah,
ChatGPT is I find ChatGPT pretty good with hooks, and when they need to research kind of, I mean, social media, because they also browse Reddit a lot. I mean, that's what ChatGPT does, and a
mm,
lot of viral stuff. I mean, of course, is on Reddit. I mean, way well before it goes on LinkedIn. I mean, it's on Reddit, and then it goes on X. So that's kind of how it works. So ChatGPT tends to browse that quite a bit, which is funny, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. Although
Yeah.
Google's making it
Yeah.
harder for it to do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I just got this slide up. I think we sort of covered what I was going to kind of remind
Sure.
myself on this slide, but um, again, for people who aren't familiar with this already, it can be a little bit confusing because what is essentially the same thing on a different platform they all have different names. So custom GPTs, if you're in ChatGPT, or often just abbreviated to GPTs because it's too much of a mouthful. Claude projects are very similar, but it's more of a sort of workspace. You can create Claude skills, which is relatively new. What you're going to put in terms of instructions is broadly the same. The skills
You can also
can
do
be,
the projects inside of ChatGPT actually, which
yeah,
when do you use a custom GPT, and when would you use the project feature?
yeah. So that's a sort of that's a tricky question, and
Yes.
it's right, because again, for those who don't know, you can put the same set of instructions that you would put in a custom GPT into a project um, inside of ChatGPT, not to be confused with Claude projects, which is something else. So, but the problem with projects, they're great. That workspace has a sort of collective memory of everything that's going on inside that workspace, and so it's really good from that point of view. But because it has custom instructions that you put in, And a GPT also has custom instructions. You cannot use a GPT inside a project because the argument from OpenAI is that, well, we've got these two instructions and they might conflict, and they haven't done the workaround, even though it's right at the top of the request list. So if you're doing a project, you're probably going to have, I suppose the difference is, let's say if you're writing a book as an example, the project is going to be kind of broader in terms of the instructions and the knowledge. So knowledge is when you upload documents like training documents. So the project typically is going to have more information, maybe a broader set of instructions that might include as a subset of that similar instructions in terms of style guide and stuff that you would put in the custom GPT. So if you're doing a big project something like a book, it does make sense to do it inside of a project because it just makes the whole thing easier to manage. But what I would do there is take the instructions that you would put in custom GPT and essentially duplicate them. So have them inside the project so it's got that guidance, but have a separate standalone custom GPT as well. And if the project is a little bit overwhelmed and not quite giving you what you want, take that question or take that piece of writing, and you can do it separately inside of a separate chat using the custom GPT, and then you can copy and paste or drag and drop that chat into the project. So you can't use a custom GPT inside a project, but you can have a conversation with the custom GPT, and then take the finished output and add it to the project, and that's that gets the best of both worlds. Sometimes you won't need that could be overkill, but sometimes if you want something very precise that's got no other sort of information to muddy things in, then you want to use the custom GPT. But again, the only way to be certain is to run it through both and then see which one's giving you the better output.
I think, for example, if I'm hosting a virtual summit or something like that, I would put it into a project because there will be different tasks potentially. Depends a little bit. I might have a landing. It's still different tasks. Maybe I will chat about it in general about the summit, but then I would have specific things for the landing page because it's still gonna be hard to have everything that goes into it in one instruction set. That's not gonna be good probably. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So
it's great. So do you want to show? Do you have any more slides? Or do you have some more slides?
Yeah, no, this is it. So there's a sort of little screenshot of the prompts there, and so I just bought this URL this afternoon. The runningbotprompts.com.
That's good.
Or click the link below. I'm assuming there's going to be a link below this one.
Yeah, we'll link up the resource, and I'll make sure we have also that inside the AI Creator OS and the workshops and everything. You can access everything there as well. But this is great.
Yeah.
So, but I think something that would be a little bit interesting, if you have your screen already, maybe you can go in to demonstrate a little bit, to kind of give people a taste of how it looks behind the scenes. If people are more maybe newer to this, I think it's still great that we gave the explanation, but then now we can show a little bit behind the scenes to actually how do you set this up here.
And GPTs here, I've minimized that, but let's open that up. So you can take it when you create a GPT, you can pin it to your sidebar if you want to. You can pin somebody else's GPT. So there's actually a GPT store where you can go in and find pre-built GPTs. Now, that will not help you for this because clearly somebody else is not going to build a custom writing bot trained in your writing style. So, but for other tasks, it can be quite useful.
But isn't that funny? I think I just wanted to bring it up because people are using other people's writing. Unless you really know, I have created some stuff for my approach to landing pages and stuff like that. I think these can be still really useful. But I think what's even more useful if you learn the process of doing this yourself, so you can set up something that creates it exactly the way you want it. That's even more powerful, right? That's how you should set it up, not using someone else's. That could be training wheels. Like you can get good output from using mine, for example, but eventually you should use your own to create your landing pages and everything, because that's kind of just give
Yeah,
you
and I
better
think
output.
for sales copy, it's not so bad because
Yeah.
not everybody, well, certainly most writers are not trained in sales copywriting. So it's a different skill set, and it's quite a hard one to learn. It's kind of irritating that AI is kind of like a
No, but
top-level copywriter.
like,
Just
I mean, for
like, oh,
example, when they use mine, they get basically a set of questions. So they still will enter their audience, but you have to do that every time because it's not specifically trained on you. So you spend a little bit more time because you need to pace your voice. I mean, basically, if I have something about a blog post, let's say I have a blog writer or something like to write an ultimate guide,
mm,
then I will still ask about who they are, their audience, and all this kind of stuff. And that would probably already be inside of something you have trained. So it's a little bit more steps if you're
mm,
using someone else's process. But yeah, you can still get good output basically, and
yeah.
then you learn from that, and then you can hopefully create your own later on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just do a quick kind of like run through of where you go to set one of these up. And I will mention as well, because this worries some people, when you build this custom GPT, it's private to you. So no one else can access this unless you choose to share it with them. And the default inside of ChatGPT is that it is private. I should be able to show you the options later. So yeah, it is private to you, and you're not training the model. And you can, AI doesn't plagiarize in the way that people think it does. It's not like kind of looking over your shoulder and kind of copying you, and chunks of your work are suddenly appearing on somebody else's output. It doesn't work like that. It's a sort of data set with billions of data points, and it's predictive. It's predicting what the next word or phrase is going to be. So it's not. It can plagiarize frameworks. If you say, like, what's Tony Robbins' framework for X, Y, and Z? It'll know that stuff. But in terms of what we're using it for, it's not really plagiarizing us. But if that bothers you, despite that, you can go into your settings for whichever account it is. And if certainly if you have the paid accounts, you can choose to switch off from training the model. But so when you build out your custom GPT, it is private to you. So where do we go? So GPTs, if I go down the bottom, click on Explore GPTs. So this is the GPT store for anybody who's not been in here, and you've got different headings, and these are the sort of popular ones, what's trending. So you can go in and find all sorts of cool things there that people have built. That won't help you for writing your own, having your own writing bot. So what we're going to do is go up here. This is a list of GPTs you've already created. So these are various GPTs that I've created. But let's go back. Fairly obviously, click on the create button, and that's going to open up this. Now, often it will be okay. First thing to say, sorry, let me compose my thoughts here. Typically, you have these two tabs, create and configure, and you can use either one to build the GPT. Normally, I think that when you open it up, suddenly for the first time, it defaults to the create tab. Do not build your GPT under this create tab, okay? It will ask you a series of questions, then it will sort of summarize it into a prompt, and all of the backwards and forwards and all of the input that you put in to get that thing is effectively lost. You can't go back and find it or edit it. And you just have this fairly short prompt, which is, it doesn't
It
have
creates
one.
pretty lackluster
Yeah.
instructions. Actually, they are not that great, if I'm being
No. So
honest. And people are using that sometimes. I don't know, but
yeah.
they are very
No,
bad,
it's
and they
better
are
than
not gonna
nothing.
get you they are not gonna get the output. So this is basically they should probably almost remove that. I mean, it is a little bit an assistant. Sometimes
It
actually it
it
was useful for one thing. I had an
mm,
issue with uploading a logo or something, for the custom GPT, and then I told it I'm having
mm,
issues. Can you upload this logo? I actually did it and added it
yeah.
to my GPT, so it worked. But it's not good for writing the instructions, for sure not.
No. No. And great if it's like your first time and you really need some help. But because you've gone through the process of creating the style guide, the context layers, and so on, we want to make sure we get maximum use out of those. So we're going to click on configure. And it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. So when you create that GPT, it's going to live in your account. You can pin it to your sidebar. So you want to have a name. You can click on here to if you've got a logo or something you want to create, you can do that in there. Or if you want to create a thumbnail, you can go back into the create tab, like Navid said, and ask it to create or upload something here. But it will make a little custom logo for your GPT. Give it a name so you can find it easily. One-line description. This doesn't matter so much for our private ones, but obviously this is more important if you're going to create something and share it with clients or put it into the GPT store. People are putting them into the GPT store and using them as lead gen, for example. So that's quite a good use case. So name and description, very self-explanatory. Now this box here, if I can, so let me close that. You get a tiny little instruction box. You just click on here and that expands it. Now, when I said earlier that you're going to take all of those elements and put them into something like a Google Doc, once you've done that, that's your prompt. Just simply copy and paste the whole thing and paste it into this box. That's it. So if you can copy and paste, you'll be able to do this. So copy and paste that into the box and then close it down. Conversation starters. So again, you don't need these; they're not compulsory. You could just start typing into the chat window. But if you want a conversation starter, you might just type in, oops, where are we? No. It could be something as simple as that.
They're
and
more
then
useful when you have a public GPT though, or something for
again,
your students.
this is more for
Yeah.
little prompt conversational starters for people who are brand new to it. Doesn't matter so much for us because this is private and we know exactly what it's for. Knowledge. So you can upload files and okay. We don't need it. We don't need to upload any, but if you have specific training. So one of the things that, again, best practice, and I didn't mention it earlier, you want to create that style guide, but you can also upload that. Let's say you've got that 3,000 word sample. You can also upload the sample directly as a document into the knowledge. So, and then what you can have the AI do is use the style guide, as in the instructions, as the kind of first set of instructions to follow. But if it's not sure about something, it can go back to the style guide, to the actual sample that's inside the knowledge, and actually re-look at it and take guidance from that. So that gives you kind of belt and braces. Like I said, if you had, I mentioned something like in the additional instructions, you could have things like what are the cultural norms of that industry that you're writing to. If you had a sheet on that, you could always upload that here and have it reference that as well. So it doesn't always have to be in the instructions. If you've got something, because when you're building these GPTs, by the way, you only get 8,000 characters to go in those instructions. And that includes all the spaces. And it sounds like a lot, but it's not. And you can run out quite quickly if you've got something. So for example, if your style guide is quite long, you might end up having to turn it into a document and upload it. And in the instructions, you might say, reference the style guide in the knowledge base. That's your core instruction. So that's how to get around it. Because if you've got more than 8,000 characters, it just simply won't save those instructions, and you'll just keep getting an error message. So that's the workaround if you find the instructions are too many characters. So, but that's very useful. You can upload a bunch of different files to give it specific information or examples.
I think if you are going to upload something, a TXT file, a text file is better. I mean, usually it reads that a little bit better. It's just less clunky than a PDF. It's not as it's not as many megabytes and stuff like that. It's very small. So
easier.
it's just kilobytes. It's not big, so you can upload that there, and it should do a good job. I mean, because as you said, the instructions, you can only have 8,000 characters, and then it's
one of the
run out.
Exactly. One of the things you can do for sort of extra brownie points is have that text file or that document in Markdown, which is just gives the AI the syntax and the kind of hierarchy that it needs to do a slightly better job. It's marginal, but it can do a slightly better job of understanding the hierarchy of those instructions. You do not need to know Markdown. It's basically, like if we were, for human beings, Markdown is something that's bold or something that's a heading or something that's italics. It's just that. So
You can tell
you
the
could
AI to do it.
yeah, exactly. Take the document that you've created, the instructions or the style guide, paste it in, and say, "Give me this in Markdown language," and give me, and it'll do it for you, and then you just copy and paste it. So you don't need to know what Markdown is beyond. It's the easiest way that AI finds to kind of read these
Or
instructions.
you can write it directly in Notion or something that's like Markdown straight
Yeah.
out of the
Okay.
box, basically. You can export it in Markdown. Actually, I
Okay.
mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
how
I don't use
Notion
Notion.
works with these
Yeah.
slashes and stuff. So you can enter add things very easy. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a bonus tip. You can. I would not specify a model. You can do, but the models are constantly changing and evolving. So I would just leave that blank, unless there's a very good reason, which I can't think of, for specifying a particular model. It doesn't always have to be. Sometimes, there was a recent update where people were getting worse output from the newer model. So it's good to have that flexibility. You can go into your GPT when you're actually not in here when you're building it, but when you're actually using it, having a conversation with it, you can choose the model there. It'll default to whatever it thinks is the best model. But if you want to try something else and see if you get better output with a different model, that gives you the flexibility to do that and just compare the results. So I would leave that as no recommended model. Um, you
Yeah, if
don't
you wanted
need.
to, if you want to upload stuff, and I mean, I think this is if you wanted to kind of analyze images and stuff like that, then you need to check that sometimes. But yeah, I
Yeah,
do check that for my
you
public
used to
GPTs.
have web search.
Yeah,
Um, you yeah, you mentioned canvases earlier. So canvases again, it Canvas allows it to put a piece of text up that is editable by you, and then go straight into the memory. So yeah, it's good to have that enabled. You might want to generate images, so no harm in having that. It's very unlikely that they're going to use this. This is a writing GPT, so we're not going to need to use it for coding. So you can just leave that one blank. We don't need to create new actions. That's when it's kind of going out and being kind of like an agent. So, and I've lost my save button because I've minimized the screen. But okay, hang on. You should be able to see this. So once you've gone through those various steps, you click on the create button, and it'll build that GPT for you, or it'll save it rather. And so it's a couple of seconds, and then it's there. It's inside your account. And if you want to go back in and tweak anything, like I say, just go back into the instructions and make an update. It won't save anything because I've not filled out the various things. But
do you have your own in your ChatGPT or a similar one?
if I can remember my GPTs, there we go. I got various ones.
Yeah.
It's being very slow now.
Yeah, when we are live, it's always gonna something is gonna lag. Yeah.
Okay, we go.
You're like me. You built out a lot of them. I have also quite a
Yeah.
few.
So this up here, if you're using, so this would be if I was opening it up for a conversation, I could start just typing there or asking it. If I wanted to use a different model, I could just go up to this little drop down here and just choose a model. So that's what I was saying about it gives you the flexibility. Now, I'm going to edit this. I'm not, but I'm going to show you inside it. And here we have nothing because I built it under the configure tab. So that's the title I gave it. And this is just a long thing, pasting in a particular set of instructions, style guide, author bio, etc., who the target readers are. Basically, all the things that that I went through in terms of those three elements. And if I wanted to upload a sample file, I haven't got any in this one, but if I wanted to upload the style guide, or if I wanted to upload the writing sample that I'm using it as a kind of fallback if it needs to double check something, that's where I do it. No recommended model. Yeah, this is an old one, so it doesn't have. It didn't have those. I built this a long time ago, and it's. I click update, and now it's added those capabilities in.
Awesome.
And in a second, it'll give me a pop up. So, no, okay, this is weird. Normally, it gives you a choice. I don't know why it's not doing that. But when I mentioned it's normally private, you have three options. Private is the default option. You could do invite only, or somebody's basically got a link, so you can share the link. Bear in mind that there's no way of stopping somebody sharing that link onto somebody else. So once it's out, it's out. Or you can make it accessible to anybody by allowing it to go inside the GPT store. And normally this little window here is where you would select from those. So I don't know why this is only giving me one option, but that's where you would normally go to change that if you wanted to. But say for these, the only person you might want to share it with is if you have an assistant or a VA or something like that, and you wanted to share it with them. But normally, if you're using it for writing, it's going to be private to you. But if you want to copy the link, you can just share the link with somebody if you want to do that. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. This is not the complex part, or not even complex isn't the right word. This is not the difficult or the important part, and this might change in a month's time, and it's going to be slightly different for Claude or Gemini. The important thing is the actual material that you are using to train this AI app, this writing bot. That's what you want to spend the time getting right and fine-tuning if you need to. Once you've done that, you can build out as many of these as you want. You can build out in the different platforms and see which one gives you the best results.
Yeah.
So
no, this is awesome. I think I wanted to ask you a little bit more as we're starting to wrap up this session. Like, do you have any other AI tools that you use on a daily basis as a creator in your business? What's your
yeah,
tech
well, you're
stack
looking at
and how
one
do you
right
use them?
now. You mentioned this, which is Gamma. So Gamma.app
Yeah.
makes some kind of cool looking slide presentations. And it creates AI images for you based on what's on the slide. And if you can use PowerPoint or Keynote, you'll be able to get your head around this pretty quickly. So yeah, Claude, ChatGPT, GenSpark. GenSpark and Manus are similar, and again, it's like all of them. From one week to the next, one might be slightly better. Then in a week's time, it's the other one. So don't get too hung up on which is the best model this particular week. So yeah, the ones I use most are Claude, ChatGPT, GenSpark, Gamma for creating presentations. I mean, everything has an AI element now. For voice cloning, 11 Labs is the best in the market. If you want to create a clone of your knowledge that you could use for customer service, or you could use it as a bolt-on for clients or students if you have a membership area. Delphi is really, really good. It's not the only solution, but I think it's either, there's one or maybe two solutions that are sort of the market leaders, and Delphi is one of them. So you can upload vast amounts of knowledge, millions of words, depending on the plan. And it can pull from that, and it can answer questions for people in real time. So it's like some people are making literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just selling access to that Delphi clone that people are using to be able to ask questions or for coaching sessions. So you've got this AI, which has got your sort of collective knowledge base, and you can create multiple instances of these if you want to, so some have all of your knowledge, some maybe have partial access, depending on who's getting access to it. So there's some really, really cool stuff out there. But yeah,
Yeah.
Delphi for
I did a
knowledge
session
base.
actually on Delphi for my students as well. It's really good, and
Mm,
I mean they have different plans. Like they even have unlimited voice minutes. I think in the $99 a month plan at the time we are recording this, they don't have a professional voice clone, so it doesn't
mm,
sound as good. So you have to kind of go up to the three. I think it's like 300 to
yeah,
350 or something or
200.
whatever. It's a
Not
but it
cheap.
makes sense
Right.
because it's unlimited voice minutes. That's why it's expensive. If
Yeah.
you go to 11 Labs, which I use, 11 Labs is so good. I don't know if they are using that under the hood or they have like
Can
some other
you
model.
can you
But
take your 11 Labs clone and kind of tie that into Delphi?
no, you can't. They have like their own stuff basically. That's
Right.
the only. Well, with 11 Labs, it will cost a lot. I tested this quite a lot with their agent feature, and it's really, really good. You can actually upload your knowledge, and they have a
Mm,
conversational AI. I might do a tutorial on this, but it's really interesting. So you can create these customer service bots and all this kind of stuff, right? And you have it's basically like they're chatting with me, or you could
mm,
take potentially have another voice. I mean, you just take some, you create the voice yourself,
mm,
and it's like a fictional character or something like that. But I took my own voice, so it's like they're chatting with me basically. I'm gonna put that actually on the summit pages and everything because I don't think
mm.
so many people will use it. I mean, I'm right now
But
on the
it's
creator
it's good
plan,
to
but I
know.
think I'm gonna upgrade so I have even more minutes because it's quite useful. But for sure, unlimited, which Delphi offers for one of their higher plans, will cost quite a lot with 11 Labs. So I
Mm,
can understand why it's like in the
mm.
300 to
But it
350.
can
That's why.
be, if you've got course material and it allows you to, or it allows your students, your clients to ask a question about something that they saw maybe it's 3 or 4 weeks ago, but they don't want to have to go back and plow through a bunch of tutorials to try and find that one thing. You can
Yeah.
just ask the Delphi clone and it will it'll give you a reference as to where it is and it will explain what that thing was. And so something
Yes.
that in the past would have taken potentially a very long time, you can do in a few seconds. So it's a big selling point and I'm not telling you this. I know you know this already for the anyone listening.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a chunk of money, but it's a big, big help for students,
I
or
think
for
I think
clients.
Delphi makes sense if you want the voice feature. I think
Mm,
that's adds a little bit of a premium to it. I mean, they can chat with you essentially. I know Tony Robbins has an AI, for example, where I mean, he probably makes millions and millions of dollars from this. I mean, that was like
mm,
very premium service. I think he used Steno.ai, which
mm,
is Steno. I think it's .ai by Arman Asadi. He was actually a speaker on one of my
right.
summits as well. But then now I think they finally found product market fit. So they are in the similar category like Delphi and
Mm,
Coachbox and things. But I think they are like really, really premium. They are starting like from $500 a month. And it's like more like, yeah, it's a
so,
different
yeah,
type of service. So it's like way more expensive. But I do think probably like for the unlimited voice, Delphi is a good option. If you don't
mm,
need that, I think like MindPal, you can set things like that up. You can use Coachbox. There's some different tools like this. You can even create this yourself if you're like, going into, let's say, Google AI Studio and you want just a chat to add your knowledge. I mean, it's more technical, obviously. You have to know a
mm,
little bit what you're doing, but you can create these kind of knowledge bases. It's not so complicated to basically
mm,
train a bot to just reference your knowledge. I mean, that's essentially what it is. What is
yeah,
harder is obviously when you have voice and all this integrated, yeah, then you probably need more of a
mhm,
solution like Delphi or 11
yeah,
Labs or something like that.
yeah, and if it means, like one extra course sale or one extra retained
Yeah.
customer per month, you've probably more than covered your costs right there
It's quite a good
without having
experience.
to
Like
build
they
it.
can chat. I mean, imagine you cannot clone yourself here, but you can clone yourself with AI, right? So
Yeah,
your AI clone can access this. And if you were to jump on calls with your students, you would charge a lot more. But with the AI
mm,
clone, like Matt, I saw Matthew Hussey is offering this. I mean, he's a big name in the relationship world, dating world. I mean,
mm,
I think he's one of the guys who's making millions of dollars using Delphi. He's basically
yeah,
selling this.
yeah,
But again, he's on the top plan. They have like white glove service. He has like this, more branded, then you would get. So I don't know. Depends like what you want. I mean, if you wanted to just to get started, I think the $99 a month, just test it out. I mean, most of them
Yeah.
are around that price without a voice attached to it.
Mm.
So yeah, it's could
Yeah.
be worth it. Or just GPT for as if you want to be really on a budget, just test out GPT to train it, and then you can go to something like that. The negative with that is that yeah, you don't have you cannot embed the GPT on your site, which you can do with some of the other tools. So it's a little bit more
Mm.
branded inside your or inside of your membership, or you can share a link and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to share? I think this was quite valuable. I mean, it was quite
Yeah.
good.
No, I think, I mean, those are say the key things that I think. I mean, there's loads of exciting stuff we could talk. We could have a whole summit or just on
Yeah,
AI. I mean, who
yeah,
knew?
yeah,
But yeah, no,
yeah.
those are the
Writing
key
and
things
stuff
on
like
there.
that. Lots of stuff. I mean, what are you excited about in your business and with AI moving forward?
I mean, a lot of this exciting stuff has already happened and is either like as good as it needs to be or very close. And yes, it's getting better rapidly, but I am excited about the way AI agents are developing now. I mean, I think some people were saying 2025 was the year of the AI agent. It sort of wasn't. It wasn't quite there. Whereas 2026, I think, even more so. So that's quite exciting. Taking all the things that already exist and then tying them in with kind of workflows and agentic AI that can go out and actually execute a bunch of stuff for you. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's scary at the same time. It's unfortunately, a bunch of people are going to lose jobs because they're going to get replaced, or they're just not going to get hired in the
I
first
can
place.
give a good
But
example of this actually. I mean, I've done a lot of summits in my days now, and something that used to take a lot of time is, let's say we had something during this session where we had to do some kind of edits, like because the
mm,
screen was not there, or maybe the transcript because when I upload this to the script, which I use to edit these videos, it will get the tool names wrong sometimes, which is very
mm,
common, and that's not good when a student wants to reference something, right? So I have to
mm,
make sure the tools are right, especially when it comes to AI. So now what I do is the script has an agent built in basically, and that's very common with some of these tools now. So they have an agent called Underlord, and you just go and chat with it. I say,
mm,
go and check what tools are featured in this session, and it will do mostly a good job. And I say, okay, no, it was not called this, and then fix it. But then it will actually spell them correctly, and
mm,
then it can even go probably and fix this thing when I want to edit out a few small details from this session. It's like in a few minutes, I will edit the session that will take maybe 1.5 to 2 hours, because you still have you. I will have to listen to everything, but if I make notes during the session, I mean, I made a few notes for the timestamp. I don't really need to listen to it anymore. I mean,
yeah,
as long as it's good, and the AI can tell me if there's any mistake, can remove, clean up the transcript and stuff like that. I don't really remove a lot of stuff for kind of a podcast or workshop, because it should
mm,
feel natural. If I
yeah,
make it like a jump cut kind of
yeah,
YouTube style video, is not that engaging. So I think for videos like this, you can do it really easily with AI, and I think video editors like this that made their job to do. I mean, they're not gonna
yeah,
have that much job. I
yeah,
mean, I don't need someone to do it. I mean, I could have technically any person. They don't need to be skilled at anything. They can just learn how to basically be detailed and chat with AI. I mean, if I didn't want to do that myself, but for now, I even do this myself a few minutes, and it's done after the session. So I don't need to,
yeah.
stress about this.
Yeah, and these the script would have been, actually, I didn't think of it, but that would be on my list of tools that I use,
Yeah,
which is great. And the fact that you can text, you can edit just by. I used
yeah.
to edit back in the day. It was timelines and audio lines and having to clip bits out, clip out, and now you can just edit by just deleting the text.
As an author is
So
perfect. Like
mm,
if you don't like to write everything, as you mentioned, you like to speak your book, you can transcribe this extremely easily with the script. And it's like there
mm,
you can even ask it about the transcript, what you can improve, and then you can probably bring it into, your GPT or Gem or a Claude
mm,
project or whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's probably what I would start as well if I were to write, like, have a big project. Just kind of bring it in there, transcribe it, and then I have it already. So yeah, but
yeah.
where can people connect more with you? Where's the best way?
Um, Well, if you download writing the prompts from writingbotprompts.com,
Uh,
obviously that'll
I
get
will
you on the
link
email
that up.
list.
That's,
You can,
yeah.
and you can obviously unsubscribe at any time if you choose to. But you can find me at johntighe.com. So it's johntighe.com, johntighe.com. That's probably the best place to find me. I have books on Amazon, of course, so you can find me there too.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. And if you have any takeaways for this session and you're inside our community and the program AI Creator OS, do leave a comment and let us know what you think. If you are taking action on this, definitely let us know. I'm sure you can reach out to John as well if you have any questions about this. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Ciao for now. Bye.